we'll just wait for 2 more minutes. I think chairman will be joining soon. Okay. Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
for joining, sir. Thank you for joining. Yeah. I think the Secretary General, Dr. Manoj also has joined, I believe. I think he's there. Yeah, good afternoon, Dr. Manoj.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah. Chairman Imped also has joined. Okay. Yeah. So we will start just in a minute, sir. Okay. What about from Aldo? All the officials have joined? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I think because both the guests have joined, I think we can start, I believe, if everything is okay. Yeah. I'm sure definitely Srinivas sir will be busy in some other meeting. I just requested him. So we will start the meeting, okay? Yeah.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome everyone to the International Training Program on Value Chain Management in Fisheries, organized by African Asian Rural Development Organization, ARDO, and ICAR Central Institute of Fisheries Technology, Cochin, India. Let's begin the program with ICAR song.
शस श्यामला छवि भारत की, जय जय कृषि परिषद भारत की। हिम प्रदेश से सागर तट तक, मरुधरती से पूर्वोत्तर तक, हर पथ पर है मित्र कृषक की। शिक्षा शोध प्रसार सकल तक, आशा स्वावलंबित भारत की। जय जय कृषि परिषद भारत की, जय जय कृषि परिषद भारत की।
Now, I would like to invite Dr. Nikita Gobal, Course Coordinator and Principal Scientist of Extension Information and Statistics Division of ICAR CIFT Cochin, to offer the welcome address.
Greetings from ICAR CIFT, Central Institute of Fisheries Technology, Cochin. Welcome to this inaugural session of the International E-Training on Value Chain Management in Fisheries, which we're hosting in collaboration with the African Asian Rural Development Organization. Good morning, afternoon, and evening to participants from different parts of the world. We hope that this program will be useful in sharing information and becoming a learning forum for everyone involved. At the outset, I would like to welcome President of today's inaugural session and Director of ICAR CIFT, Dr. C.N. Ravi Shankar. We have been organizing this and several other programs under his leadership and guidance. Welcome, sir. We have our honored guest, Shri K.S. Srinivas, IAS, Chairman, Marine Products Export Development Authority, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, and His Excellency, Dr. Manoj Nardev Singh, Secretary General of ARDO, who have joined us amidst their busy schedules for virtually inaugurating the program and addressing all of us. On behalf of the Director and staff of ICAR CIFT, I extend a very warm welcome to both of you, sirs. We have 76 registered participants from 22 countries joining us for this program. I warmly welcome all of you to this inaugural session as well as the training program that is to follow. I hope we will be able to meet your expectations and there will be some take-home lessons for all of you. We also look forward to learning from you. I welcome Dr. A.K. Mohanty, the ARDO Program Coordinator, and senior colleagues who have joined us for the session. Several colleagues in the Division of Extension Information and Statistics, which is hosting this program, have been involved in putting this training together. I thank them all for their efforts and welcome everyone to this session. Once again, a warm welcome to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, I would like to invite Dr. A.K. Mohanty, Head of Extension Information and Statistics Division of ICAR CIFT Kochi and ARDO Program Coordinator to brief about the highlights of the program.
Namaste. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. A warm and hearty welcome to all our valued participants and respected guests. First of all, esteemed guest of honor, His Excellency Dr. Manoj Nardesi, the Secretary General, African Asian Rural Development Organization, New Delhi. Honorable Sri K. Srinivas, IS Chairman, MPDA, under Ministry of Commerce, Government of India, also the guest of honor of today's inaugural function, and our most beloved director, ICAR CFT Kochi, Dr. Ravi Shankar CA, who always thinks out of the box to bring transformation in the system through his proactive decisions. Today, in fact, he is instrumental in this program for organizing this international training program in collaboration with ARDO. And dear participants from 23 ARDO member countries, out of which 42 from 14 African countries and 34 from 9 Asian countries, including India, who have joined this program on digital platform. Dr. Sanjeev Behera, Head IT's Division, ARDO, and Mr. Kamal, Technical Officer, or other ARDO officials from New Delhi. All the head of the divisions, scientists in charge of our regional centers, resource scientists from ICAR CFT, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, it's a unique opportunity for ICAR CFT to organize this ARDO-sponsored international training program for the second time in a row. Recently, we concluded one program on advanced techniques in fishing and fish processing from 31st August to 9 September, which was received overwhelming response from ARDO member countries. Today, this training program is entitled Value Chain Management in Fisheries that will further strengthen the research and technology collaboration of India with ARDO member countries in the domain of harvest and post-harvest fisheries. And it may suggest innovative ways of overhauling the livelihood of stakeholders along the fisheries value chain. So on this auspicious day of inauguration, I once again wholeheartedly extend a warm welcome to all of you from ICAR CFT. Had it been a normal time devoid of the COVID stress, it would have been a great pleasure for us to welcome all of you here physically rather than on a digital platform. Sir, ICAR CFT, the only technology institute in fisheries sector in India, has earned national and international level recognition due to its cutting-edge technologies, collaborative research with global level organizations like BOBP, World Fish Center, VISA, FAO, UNDP, etc., and many national level agencies like MPDA, FSSI, IIT, NCOIS, Coal India, Cochin Shipyard Limited, DST, DBT, and many ICAR and CSI research institutes, including most of the state level agencies. And since last one decade, ICAR CFT has also got the opportunity of conducting many international training programs under ITEC, sponsored by Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India, ASEAN under BST, SARC, FTF, ITT, Feed the Future India Triangular Program under USAID. Of course, each as ARDO sponsored HRD program, it has added one more feather to its wings, for which we are very much indebted to ARDO, and particularly the Secretary General of ARDO, His Excellency Dr. Manoj Nardesi. Sir, today global fisheries are on the crossroads. One side, the challenges are production enhancement, sustainable resource management, energy efficiency, improved trading. And on the other hand, fisheries value chain is undergoing a paradigm transformation that involves a full range of activities and services starting from diet to table, starting from production to consumption, which comprises of post-harvest operation, quality assurance, certification process, then traceability, marketing, entrepreneurship development, credit facilities, and dissemination mechanism, through which we can reach to the final consumers. So today, with this backdrop, the present course has been thoughtfully planned and tailored, keeping eye upon common regional problems and stakeholders' needs in the area of harvest and post-harvest. So under this course, we have made an attempt to cover the whole aspects of value chain and fisheries, like concepts of value chain, issues and opportunities, at global level, harvesting techniques, quality certification, fish marketing and trade, ICT intervention for information dissemination, entrepreneurship development, etc. Besides that, sir, we have also made arrangements for virtual visit to CFT to expose the participants to many high-end and state-of-the-art facilities of CFT. We have kept the provision of pre and post-evaluation of the participants to study the impact of the program, and we'll also provide the e-training manual as a reference material for the participants. We hope this e-training program will meet the requirement of the participants with respect to basic concepts, issues, opportunities, and different aspects of value chain management. I am sure amidst the present scenario, when the whole world is grappling with COVID-19, and many countries, particularly our Asian and African countries, they are struggling hard to overcome the economic setback caused due to the pandemic. This fisheries value chain development training may give an impetus for the revival of the communal economy by promotion of entrepreneurship in the fishery production, harvest, and post-harvest sector. Sir, we hope this program will be more interactive, lively, and successful with exchange of ideas, knowledge, and a common platform. So thank you very much. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Dr. C.N. Ravishankar, Director, ICAR Central Institute of Fisheries Technology, Cochin, for the presidential address. Sir, please.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. Most respected Honorable Chairman, Emperor Srinivas sir, and His Excellency Secretary General Manoj ji, and all the officials of ARDO, all the distinguished participants for this training program, and all my colleagues, Dr. Nikita, Dr. Suresh, and all others who are involved with this, and all my HODs, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a great pleasure. First of all, let me once again welcome Srinivas sir and Dr. Manoj ji on my personal behalf for this program. Especially, I would like to place on record our gratitude to both of you for sparing your time to join this program. We all wish that these programs are physical. And I still remember, sir, Srinivas sir, I just wanted to tell you, 2 years back, there was a program in CMFRI. So I met the Secretary General, Dr. Manoj, and I invited him to CIFT. He came, it was not a planned program. He just came to the institute, visited the facility. Immediately, he decided that we should have collaborative programs. So that is the result of this, sir. We just completed last week one program on fishing and processing, and this is the second program. So that's really, that shows the interest in the Secretary General in our activity. And I'm sure the Chairman Empada also recognizes that. And I would like to tell Dr. Manoj, again, Empada is a great supporter of CIFT. And even our previous international program, the Chairman Empada has come and inaugurated one of our ITech program where we had a lot of overseas delegates. So then when I called him, told about this ARDO program, even though he was busy in some other meeting, he immediately agreed, and he said he will join for the inauguration. So I must thank both Dr. Manoj and Srinivas sir. First of all, on behalf of my whole family, sir, to thank you for gracing this occasion. And I think my colleagues have already briefed about the program, sir. As you know, I don't have to introduce CIFT to anyone. But for the participants, we are the only national institute of international repute where we are working on harvest and post-harvest technologies in fisheries. And we have been conducting a lot of international training programs, catering to all, majority of the officials coming from both Africa, Asia, and even from other parts, especially South America, Europe, So we are regularly having. In the past 5 years, we must have trained, from nearly people came from 35 countries, nearly 150 people we must have trained. And once again, this is a big opportunity to showcase our technology, to collaborate with other countries. Sir, just Srinivas sir, I just wanted to tell you, last week we conducted one program already. 3 countries have envisaged, evinced interest in collaborating with CIFT. So that is the outcome of this such training program, sir. And so whatever we are developing, especially this program, especially we are talking of value chain fisheries. I am sure all of you understand the importance of this topic. When the whole world is talking about fisheries as a sunrise sector, there is so much of potential in the fisheries sector, and that's the reason government of India is also giving so much of support for the under the Blue Revolution program, and they have a separate scheme of Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. Even IMPEDA is very closely working on developing the fisheries sector, both for domestic as well as for the export. Whole department, the whole country is talking about improving the fisheries sector, whether it is inland or marine. So in that direction, the whole value chain management assumes a lot of importance, because we are talking of fish as a vital health food for the country. When we are talking of malnutrition, undernutrition, when we are talking of ensuring food safety, nutritional security for people, and not just in India, globally, even Africa, Asia, many countries are having these issues of undernourishment in the people. So definitely aquatic products are going to play a major role. So then definitely every country, the issues like, post-harvest losses, we can't afford to have so much of post-harvest losses. So managing the whole fisheries, the value chain, ensuring proper cold chain, ensuring the proper infrastructure, adding value to the fisheries resources, whatever we are catching, complete utilization of what we are catching, improving mariculture, increasing our culture capability, so that more fish is available to the people. Okay, because the consumption, if you see, we are far away behind the global average of 20 kilos. So as a country, many of us definitely share these concerns. So this sort of a training programs are, a platform or an opportunity for exchanging what we are doing. Okay, it is not just we are trying to teach something. So it is a learning experience. It's a class learning experience. So we are also, when we are interacting with all of you, we also learn many things from your country experience, so that we can work together and we can see that the sector is improving, so that people get more nutritious food and we don't waste the valuable resources to the whole value chain. So that's what is all this training is about. So me and my colleagues will be very happy to share our technology, and let us work together, let us collaborate together. Once again, I would like to thank Ardo for this opportunity for CIFT. We are looking forward for more collaboration. And again, it's an honor to have the chairman Empada here with us, because we have a very good association in developing the fisheries sector in the country. So once again, thanking Srinivas sir, thanking Dr. Manoj for gracing this function. And I would like to compliment all my colleagues for taking this initiative to put up this program. And I would like to thank all the Ardo officials. Okay, so we are looking forward for strengthening our collaboration and more, association with you, so that we can do more important programs in the future of interest of, subjects of mutual interest. Once again, thank you everybody, and we hope that this training program will be very useful to all the participants. And once again, I would like to welcome all of you physically to CIFT. When you come here, this is a fisheries capital of the country, because Cochin, we have the headquarters of Empada, we have CIFT, we have CMFRI, so many other fisheries departments. So when you come here physically, definitely visiting all the institutes will definitely have a more exposure to the activities what we are doing. So probably next program will be physical, we hope. Okay. Once again, thanks to Srinivas sir, thanks to Dr. Manoj, and I wish the program all success, and I hope the training program will be very useful to all the participants across the world. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. In Sanskrit language, it is said that Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, meaning from darkness lead me to light, my Lord. The beneficial knowledge and the wisdom has always led humanity to progress and well-being. Let us wipe the darkness of ignorance with the light of knowledge. We shall now have the virtual lamp lighting ceremony. I invite Sri K. Srinivas IAS Chairman, Empada Cochin, Kerala, His Excellency Dr. Manoj Nardo Singh, Secretary General ARDO, and Dr. C.N. Ravishankar, ICAR CIFT Director, to symbolically light the lamp. Thank you all. Honorable Chairman, Impeda Cochin, Kerala, Sri K. Srinivas is a 1997 batch IAS officer of Kerala cadre. He has several years of administrative expertise in various government departments. Prior to his new assignment, he was Joint Secretary in Department of Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmers Welfare, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. He is an engineering graduate and having a degree in business management from the prestigious Indian Institute of Management, IIM, Calcutta. He served as Sub-Collector Fort Kochi, District Collector Kannur and Palakkad District, Managing Director Malabar Cements, General Manager Supplyco, and Secretary in various departments of Kerala government. Now, I request Honorable Sri K. Srinivas IAS, Chairman Impeda Cochin, Kerala, for his special remarks. Sir, please.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Ms. Rejula. Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Manoj Nardeo Singh, Secretary General of African Asian Rural Development Organization, New Delhi. Our dearest friend, Dr. Ravi Shankar, Director, ICR, CAFT, and other officers like Dr. Nikita Gopal, Dr. A.K. Mohanty, and all the organizers from both CAFT and ARDO, and all the participants from different countries. It's really a moment of great pride for me to be along with you on this occasion of inauguration of the training program, Value Chain Management in Fisheries, to be started from today. And I sincerely thank the organizers, especially Dr. Ravi Shankar, Director ICAR CFT, for inviting me to this function. And on behalf of Impeda, I would like to welcome all of you to this program. I consider this occasion as a great recognition to the economic role of value chain development and fisheries to bring economic and social gains in the developing regions of the world. And fisheries is really an important sector of economic importance. In India, of course, we have millions of people depending on fisheries alone, and then traditionally, and then last 30 years, I think a new culture also started. That is aquaculture, scientific aquaculture, also started, and we are having two varieties of sources for these marine products. One is the sea caught material, and the other one is the farmed material. Both are we are doing, and as you know, India is the third largest producer of fishes in the world, and the second largest in aquaculture. And I am very happy to say that we are the fourth largest exporter of marine products in the world. As you know, marine products, the almost 160 to 165 billion dollars worth of industry in the world, and it is growing at 4% every year. And we are very happy to say that we are the fourth largest exporter in the world. And I'm very happy to say that the collaborations between different countries will serve as a useful instrument to bring about economic growth and development. One example is the free trade agreements between countries. For example, India is having some free trade agreements with the European Union and other countries. That's what we are trying to do that. And if this type of free trade agreements are implemented, then there will be definitely some advantages for our people, our exporters, our processors. And similarly, the collaborations with other countries, like what we are having, India and African countries are having now, it is definitely will yield rich dividends, particularly in terms of human resource development and technology transformation. African Asian Rural Development, ARDO, is established to promote cooperation and exchange of knowledge in the field of agriculture and rural development. I'm very happy to know that ICAR CFT is partnering with ARDO to foster the collaboration to harness the potential of fisheries. And today's topic is value chain management in fisheries. As you know, the government of India has given a target of nearly doubling the income, doubling the exports from the fisheries by in the next 5 to 6 years. But I am sure this can be achieved only when we do the value addition. If you, but currently 90% of our exports is in the raw farm. So unless we enhance our value-added products export, we will not be able to achieve the target. And then, as you know, value addition is the in thing now. And without value addition, I think if you are doing only the raw material export, then we won't be able to achieve our objectives. But value addition is also, it's not that easy to do that. I think everybody talks about value addition, but it's an important concept. And then we are doing a little bit of value addition, but unfortunately we are not doing like the kind of the products that Vietnam and other countries in the world they are doing. I think India is slightly behind such countries like Vietnam. So first of all, we need to have very good technology. We should have machinery. I mean, I have seen in some of our the seafood shows that there are machineries, and then if you put a fish there, it will cut the tail portion, it will cut the head portion, and then it will cut the fish into 2-3 pieces, and then so all that will be done automatically. So that this type of machinery is missing in countries like India, and we need to have this type of machineries. And machinery alone is not sufficient. We need to have manpower also. Once we need technical manpower, skilled manpower. So number one, technology. Number two, machinery. Number three is manpower, skilled manpower. And of course, these three alone is not sufficient. We need to have proper markets also. Supposing we invest money in value addition. We import machinery. We install in our factories. We got our people trained, and then all those things we have done, but if you don't have proper market for our products, then that is also a big problem. So we need to have that. Is when I looked into this aspect, why more and more people are not doing value addition. These are all the main bottlenecks. These are all the problems, constraints. So some people are happy in doing what they are doing for the last several decades. That is supply of raw materials, maybe in the frozen form, but if you want to do it, then all other things what I mentioned earlier, I think these are required, and that is why they are not able to venture into that. We need to somehow break this jinx, otherwise we won't be able to do that. And as you know, unless we do these value-added products, otherwise value-added products, if it is the value is very good. If I sell a kilo of fish, maybe I may get 100 rupees. But if I do value addition, maybe it can be 3, 4, 4-fold or 5-fold, depending on the product, depending on the kind of value addition we do. So that is why I think the value addition is a very, very important concept. And I sincerely congratulate both CIFT and ARDO for doing this type of training program. And CIFT is one of our important institutions which are doing in good research in value addition, and then reduction of post-harvest losses and all that. I'm very sorry to say in our country, I think post-harvest losses are to the tune of nearly 25%. And then unless we cut down these post-harvest losses by doing maybe cold chain, improving the cold chain, improving the infrastructure in our harbors, otherwise we won't be able to do that. I think in this journey, CIFT's role is very, very crucial, and I sincerely thank everybody. So I don't want to continue further. In this current scenario of COVID, this type of training programs, because only electronic platforms are available, are only suitable to bring people together. Otherwise, it's not possible due to the restrictions of COVID. The economists world over are struggling to bring about a turnaround in the economic prospects. Fisheries has a role to kickstarting economic revival by promotion of entrepreneurship in production, harvest and post-harvest operations. I'm sure that this type of online training programs will further strengthen the collaboration of ARDO with India and affect an improvement of life and livelihood of stakeholders in the value chain. I again congratulate ARDO for coming forward to have this meeting. I also congratulate the director, Dr. Ravi Shankar of CIFT and his entire team of dedicated scientists for proactive approach toward the trainings and for organizing it. I'm sure it will richly benefit all the participants, and it will be a great occasion of learning from mutual experience. I wish all success for the programs. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for stressing the importance of the topic value addition and also throwing lights on the challenges in the field to be tackled for the future success. Thank you very much, sir. His Excellency Dr. Manoj Narde Singh took over the charge of Secretary General ARDO on 3rd September 2019. Before joining ARDO, His Excellency Dr. Manoj Narde Singh worked with Government of Mauritius in various positions such as economist, researcher, educationist, and proponent of cooperative movement in the country. He was Secretary for Cooperative Development under Ministry of Business, Enterprise, and Cooperative in Mauritius. He was also economist in the Ministry of Economic Planning and Regional Cooperation. By virtue of being a subject specialist, he has also been associated with various national and international organizations in different capacities. May I now invite His Excellency Dr. Manoj Narde Singh, Secretary General ARDO, to enlighten us on this auspicious occasion. Sir, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam, for this introduction. Esteemed guest of honor, Mr. Srinivas, the Chairman of Marine Product Export Development Authority, which falls under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry of the Government of India. My very good friend, respected Dr. Ravi Shankar, Director of Central Institute of Fisheries and Technology, learned faculty members and staff of CIFT, Dr. Bera and other officials from other secretariat, my very dear participants from other member countries and our partners, ladies and gentlemen, very good day to you all. All protocol respected, I have personally an immense pleasure in welcoming you all on behalf of 31 governments of African Asian Rural Development Organization and on my own behalf to this very important international program on value chain in fisheries. This program, as you know by now, is being organized by ARDO in collaboration with the Central Institute of Fisheries Technology, a very much renowned international research institute under the aegis of the Indian Council of Agricultural Research. A special appreciation from ARDO to our esteemed guest of honor, Mr. Srinivas, Chairman of the Marine Product Export Development Authority, who has given us the real picture, many challenges, and also has elaborated on various potentials in value additions. Sir, let me assure you through ARDO, we can connect and try to solve together as a team or many or part of these problems. Thank you very much, sir, for your presence with us today. May I also take this opportunity to express my sincere thanks to Dr. Ravi Shankar, my very good friend, and his team of scholars for organizing now it's the second online training program for ARDO member countries within a very short span, I say within a fortnight. You will all appreciate organizing back-to-back international training programs by CIFT itself is a testimony of the professionalism and strength of the institution and the dynamic leadership of its director. To this dedicated team, we convey our sincere appreciation. I'm also equally grateful, I'm very much grateful to all our distinguished participants and their respective governments. We are having 76 participants registered from 22 member countries. I'm very grateful to each and everyone for the willingness to be with us and to, most importantly, to share your experience during the program. We have got participants from Burkina Faso, Egypt, Ethiopia, Ghana, India, Jordan, Kenya, Mauritius, Morocco, Namibia, Pakistan, Palestine, Sri Lanka, Sudan, Syria, Taiwan, Tunisia, Yemen, Zambia, Bangladesh, Nigeria, and Liberia. You will agree with me that with this galaxy of eminent specialists, some of them are policymakers and practitioners, we collectively represent an ocean of knowledge and experience in the domain of fisheries, and more particularly in value chain in fisheries. Ladies and gentlemen, you are well aware that the African Asian Rural Development Organization, since its establishment in 1962, as an international intergovernmental organization, is very much rural-centric organization, which subscribe to the spirit of South-South and triangular cooperation, and most importantly, to the African-Asian solidarity. With nearly 60 years of experience, AUDO enjoys a partnership with many organizations and observer status in many UN organizations. It is a policy advocacy institution which provides platforms, just like the one we are providing us from today, for its members to pool and share their experiences, their best practices, discuss about appropriate technologies to improve livelihoods among its member countries. Lately, AUDO is focusing and leveraging on partnership with institutions of eminence as CIFT for the particular transfer of technological solutions to transform rural areas in Africa and Asia, and of course, coastal areas where fishermen and fishers are around. Because we want to assist our member countries in achieving inclusive growth, in achieving UN SDGs, and for Africa, we've got the African Union 2063 plan. Dear participants, food and nutrition security are really high on various governments and many international organizations' agenda. Fisheries has to be mainstream as they are part of the solutions for the problems faced by many governments in Africa and Asia. Rapid development of fisheries and aquaculture are foreseen to generate more food, nutrition, income, livelihood for hundreds and millions of people around the world. Fish products and seafood are among the mostly traded food commodities. And as Mr. Srinivasa has been telling us, India is number 4 on the export list, but unfortunately exporting more raw types of material. We would like to see more processed type of fish being exported. Beyond trade, fish represents an important source of protein for many economies and for many people who depend on it as for food security complement. We've got large-scale fishing, but beside that, we've got small-scale fisheries, which are providing very crucial contributions to livelihood, food and nutrition security, and well-being of coastal communities in many member countries in Africa and Asia. However, many of these small-scale fisheries in these developing countries, they fail to maximize the value of fish products due to, as rightly stated by Mr. Srinivasa and the director, due to post-harvest loss, production, distribution, and marketing challenges. When we are facing serious trouble to meet SDG 1 and SDG 2, my dear participants, it is very sad indeed, very painful to note the amount of food loss and food waste occurring at practically all levels of fisheries and aquaculture value chain, especially in the post-harvest. We direly need harvest and post-harvest innovations and technology to develop effective value chain to maximize value in fishing and aquaculture. To ensure additional value at each level, besides technology, we will need to fully use the value chain approach as a managerial tool itself to reduce all the costs, including processing costs, and improving quality and productivity of the product and reduce even the distribution costs. We have to see to it that effective value chain can translate into higher profit margins, enhanced customer loyalty, and improve brand reputation. Ladies and gentlemen, my dear participants, I have to leave all these issues to the stalwarts who will be presenting you the program during the next 4 days. These crucial issues will be further discussed, especially the value chain in fisheries will be further elaborated. I wish only to add that ARDO views appropriate technology transfer as an engine of rural development, and we are focusing on speeding up and scaling up affordable technologies to inter alia fill up the technology gaps so as to increase production, productivity, reduce poverty, inequalities and unemployment, enhance competitiveness. Obviously, the issue of food security, I've already talked about that, and attract and retain youth in rural and coastal areas. I wish also to underline that CIFT has been very kind enough to park its technologies in our Ardupedia, which we have conceived as a basket and a menu of affordable technology, best practices, programs, expertise, and policies for knowledge management in agricultural, rural development, of course, including fisheries development in our member countries. The innovative and affordable technology developed by ICA or CIFT, which is now an integral part of Ardupedia, can indeed play an important role in several aspects of the fisheries sector, because we've got a whole gamut of technologies such as harvest and post-harvest technologies, vessel manufacturing, servicing units, net fabrication, maintenance units, new and improved fish culture methods, ornamental fisheries, development and detection, diagnosis kits, waste utilization, quality management, test laboratories. I'll just go on and on for that. There are lots of technologies which have been parked there. I'm inviting all the member countries to visit the Ardupedia so that you can have a comprehensive purview of these technologies. I believe that Ardu and CFED have crucial roles to play in interactive and mutually reinforcing continuum of research and technology generation, development, assessment, transfer, and utilization. Presently, most governments are facilitating economic revival for rebounding from COVID-19 crisis. And we know, ladies and gentlemen, this is an uphill task. We certainly carry a shared responsibility and obligation of ensuring that benefits of science and technology can be trickled down and reach everyone, especially those who badly need in Africa and Asia. We therefore together have a clarion call to step up, speed up, and scale up the transfer of the innovations, disruptive as well as contemporary, affordable technologies in our Ardu member countries, not only to defeat what we call the long tail COVID pandemic, but to achieve, most importantly, to achieve SDGs agenda, and as I said, the 2063 agenda for Africa. Whilst we can have to simultaneously tackle climate change and other mega contemporary and impending challenges. I therefore invite you to join with Ardu and implement. I have the pleasure to invite Mr. Srinivasa of MEPEDA also to join with us to see how we can have the concept of science for society so that we can enhance partnership, collaboration, and sharing of experiences so as to tap new opportunities. Mr. Srinivasa highlighted the issue of marketing. I would like to say that we've got a very golden opportunity with the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which is granting free trade possibilities among all African Union nations. This opens up enormous potentials in the fish processing, fish products, which may be tapped not only by the African countries, but by the Asian countries through, of course, mutually agreed contracts and arrangements. As policymakers, my dear friends, colleagues, and participants, as academicians, as practitioners, we certainly realize that affordable, innovative, and disruptive technology are undeniably the remedies for many maladies and the transfer have to be fast tracked. We have to ensure that we fast track all the transfer of available technologies. And I know CIFT has got lots of them. We have equally to promote the establishment of conducive statutory policy and institutional arrangement along the value chain and integrate small fishers and in the whole value chain and simultaneously promote what we usually call inclusive growth, inclusive participation, especially for women and youth in fishery. Dear participants, under its programs of financing of development pilot project, ADU has very recently co-financed with the government of the Republic of Zambia an aquaculture project for empowering youth to venture into aquaculture farming. The development project is facilitating the creation of employment for vulnerable youth through fish farming and contributing to fish security, food security for all the beneficiaries. Dear participants, I am very confident that this type of projects and the best practices and the innovative and affordable technology which will be elaborated by eminent resource persons and participants can easily be emulated in member countries of Africa and Asia. So I'll invite you to be in constant touch with ADU and CIFT. We can jointly see how to access improved processing facilities and tools and equipment to support small fishing communities, how to emphasize on quality, safety, and encourage the regional trade of fish products. I once again like to reiterate our sincere gratitude to all my dear participants, to the esteemed country governments, and all our guests of honor, Mr. Srinivasan and the Director General, and all our officers and scientists who have been with us, putting up this program together with us. I'll have to cite the name of Professor Mohanty and all the colleagues, Dr. Nikita Gopal, Dr. Behera on the other side, Mr. Kamal, and all officers who have been assisting us in putting up the program. I wish this program a really very great success. And as the director was pointing out, if ever it would not have been COVID, we would have received you here, but we hope to see you very soon physically in these centers of excellence where you can see the visu, the technologies being implemented. Thank you very much. Be safe.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your most enlightening and motivating words. Now, I request Dr. Suresh A., the course coordinator and principal scientist of Extension Information and Statistics Division of ICRC-IFT Cochin, to deliver the formal vote of thanks.
Good afternoon. A respected President of the Program and Director of ICRC, Dr. C.N. Devishankar, Chairman MPEDA and Guest of Honor, Sri K. Srinivas IAS, Secretary General ARDO and Guest of Honor, His Excellency Dr. Manoj Navdiosing, Head of EAS Division and ARDO Program Coordinator at ICRC, Dr. A.K. Mohanty, all heads of divisions, dear colleagues at ICRC and participants of the training program. We are coming to an end of the inaugural function. On this occasion, I am proposing the vote of thanks. First of all, I thank Dr. C.N. Devishankar, Director, ICRC, for presiding over the function. He has been a constant source of inspiration and has provided all guidance for organizing the program. Thank you, sir, for your supports and guidance. Upon our invitation, Sri K.S. Srinivas IAS Chairman MPEDA has kindly agreed to be the guest of honor to the function and deliver a special address. He has been instrumental in fostering deep ties with ICRC and MPEDA, which has largely benefited the fisheries economy of India. I place on record our sincere gratitude to Sri K. Srinivas IAS for gracing this occasion and delivering the special address. His Excellency Dr. Manoj Navdiosing, Secretary General ARDO and Guest of Honor to the function, has been a major force behind organizing the training program and providing all guidance and support. We have richly benefited out of the guidance and support provided by him. We place on record our sincere gratitude to His Excellency for accepting our invitation and delivering the special letters and all the supports. Thank you, sir. Dr. A.K. Mohanty is the coordinator of ARDA program at ICR SIFT and is instrumental in its successful organization. Thank you. Apart from me, the course coordinators of the program are Dr. Nikita Gopal and Dr. K. Rijula. The course co-coordinators are Dr. Sajeev MB, Dr. P. Jayajayanti, Dr. V. Chandrasekhar, and Dr. V.K. Sajesh. We have received cooperation and support from all of them. Thank you. All heads of divisions and resource scientists have extended all their supports, and we place on record our thanks for the same. I thank all staff of the division and the institute and the officials of ARDO and other organizations who have contributed either directly or indirectly in organizing the program. I take this opportunity to thank all the trainee participants and for their keen interest in attending this training. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. We have come to the end of this inaugural meeting. The technical sessions will start shortly.
Once again, thanks to Srinivas sir and Dr. Manoj. Thanks from the whole family of CIFT. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure to have both of you. I know whenever we call, Srinivas sir is always there. It's such a pleasure to have you, sir. And of course, we are looking forward for strengthening our collaboration with the ARDO. I think now this is a platform. I think ARDO and IMPRINT also can have joint talks so that we can benefit the sector. So thank you very much to both of you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, stay safe. Good day. Yeah, and wish the participants the best training program. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks to all the participants for joining. Okay, thank you so much. And I compliment all my colleagues. Thank you. And especially all the ARDO officials. Okay, we look forward. Yeah. Namaste. Okay.
Chandrasekhar, are you there?
Ma'am, we will have the virtual tour first. After that, the lecture.
Okay, so dear participants, we'll have a virtual visit to ICR CFT now. It's in the form of a short film, which I think it's just a transition before we start the session. So we'll have that now. Regina, are we having the pre-evaluation now or is it later?
Yes, we can share the link, ma'am.
So first, is Chandrasekhar ready with the film?
Just a minute, ma'am. Please come.
the meantime, if Regula can share the link to the pre-evaluation in the chat box, I think people can, all the participants can just.
Okay, ma'am.
Dr. Regula will share that in the chat box. So please take some time to fill that out before we start the formal sessions. Before that, we'll also have the small brief video on the Institute, which will give you an overview of what we are doing, what we work on basically. As our director mentioned, we work on harvest and post-harvest technology. That is the 4 core areas of our research. We work on developing technologies for fishing, that is on the fishing vessels and gear, which mainly concentrates on sustainable and responsible fisheries. And we have a very strong post-harvest department, which works on several aspects. One is on product development. We work on packaging. We work on byproducts and its utilization. Also, we provide a lot of services to the industries, seafood export industry of this country, in developing standards and maintaining quality. We are directly involved in the certification along with other government agencies for that. We also contribute to standard development for the domestic market. Of late, we've been doing that. We have pure research on microbiology and on nutrition aspects of fish and fisheries, which also has applications in malnutrition and other areas. So these are our core areas. And we are the social social science department, that is the Extension Information and Statistics Division. We are responsible for extending the technologies as well as assessing the technologies and studying its impacts. We have scientists with backgrounds in economics, in statistics, in extension, and in computer applications in the division. And we take up research in those areas besides our work in extending the technologies. So if Chandrasekhar is ready with the film on the Institute, we can actually start that.
Today, India is the second largest in world fish production, behind China, with a total catch of 10.16 million tons in 2015 from inland and marine fish production. Fishing provides employment or gainful economic activity to nearly 14 million people in a nation where gaining a livelihood is the only way to a decent standard of living. Very few people or institutions in the world reach out to all the activities or stakeholders in an industry and yet remain in the background, never letting the users know or feel their presence. One such institute that has been serving the nation silently for the last 60 years in every possible way by nurturing and developing the fisheries sector of the nation is CIFT, or the Central Institute of Fisheries Technology. CIFT was set up on the recommendations of a high-power committee constituted by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. It started functioning at Cochin on 29 April 1957. Currently, the headquarters of the institute is at Cochin, Kerala, with research centers at Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh, Warrabal, Gujarat, and Mumbai, Maharashtra. The history of fishing boats in independent India has been colorful and worth documenting, as it evolved from wooden boats to aluminum crafts to crafts made from rubber wood. CIFT has been in the forefront of designing and developing boats for the fisheries sector ever since its inception. The technologies developed by the Institute have played a vital role in modernizing the harvest and post-harvest fishery sectors of India and helped making it a major exporter of processed fish and fish products. Today, CIFT focuses on responsible fisheries, a tough task of exploiting the marine resources to feed and export, while ensuring the resources are not overexploited, leading to diminishing returns. The institute is also at the service of the nation as one of the NABL accredited laboratories, recognized as a referral lab for fish and fishery products that are exported or imported. In addition, the institute has also been playing a vital role in developing, recommending, and implementing standards for fishing gears, fish products, and waste management systems in fish processing industries. The research work of the institute is put together by the various divisions like fishing technology, fish processing, quality assurance and management, biochemistry and nutrition, microbiology, fermentation and biotechnology, engineering, and extension information and statistics divisions. Sagar Harita, an IRS class vessel designed and developed by CIFT. The retort pouch technology developed by CIFT has gained the highest popularity and has been adopted by dairy, meat, mushroom, and coconut processors. Recent achievements in processing include development of smoked products, minces, and curries. CIFT has developed a method for the extraction of chitin from shrimp shell waste. The wet prawn shell collected from the peeling centers is initially converted into chitin, which is then converted to chitosan by a chemical process of deacetylation. The institute has developed a low-cost, energy-efficient, and eco-friendly dryers like solar tray dryer, solar cabinet dryer, solar tunnel dryer, etc., based on solar energy for quality drying of fishes. The Extension Information and Statistic Division of the Institute has taken the onus of coordinating the Government of India's flagship programs, namely Mera Gaon Mera Gaura and Swachh Bharat. Nutraceuticals worth mention developed by the Biochemistry and Nutrition Division are encapsulated PUFA, oyster protein hydrolysate, calcium and iron fortified fish soup powder, microencapsulated fish oil and squalene, pyridoxine loaded vanillic acid grafted chitosan. The Microbiology, Fermentation and Biotechnology Division works on harvest and post-harvest fisheries by assessing the loads of hygiene indicators, spoilage and health hazard bacteria, encompassing all stages of fish handling, that is farm to fork. The Agribusiness Incubation Center at Cochin supports operations on business projects as a measure of enhancing the foundation for new technology-based industries. The history of Indian fisheries sector since independence cannot be told without mentioning the effort and endeavor of this premium institute. Several hundreds of administrators, scientists, and other officials of this august institute have served the nation by dedicating their time, energy, and passion to make the industry a truly global player.
Dear participants, we shall now move on to our technical sessions. First, we are having with us Dr. Nikita Kobar, Principal Scientist in Extension Information and Statistics Division of ICAR-CIFT. She is basically an economist and she has experience in research and extension in more than 20 years, and she is a renowned scientist internationally also. She has many international collaborations, and also she works in the areas of gender, value chain management, and other important aspects of economics. So now we shall move on to her topic, value chain management in fisheries.
Thank you, Rajula. I'll just share my presentation. Is my presentation visible?
Yes.
Thank you. A brief, Rajula has already briefly introduced. I've been working in CIFT for the past 23 years. My initial work was on trade and markets, both domestic and export markets from India. Over the past 10 to 15 years, I've been more involved in work on gender in fisheries. And I think that's how the intertwining between value chain and gender has sort of interested me for a long time. So in this particular presentation, I'll be briefly introducing the concept of value chain management and how it can be sort of applied in fisheries to the group. From the Secretary General's address, I come to understand that you all are either practitioners or in policy making in fisheries in various countries, and we are very happy that you all could join us and be with us. I hope you can learn something from what we share today, and also we hope that we can learn a lot of things from the feedback that we get from you, so that we can improve on our content and on our program in future. So these are two terms that probably all of you must have heard. One is supply chain and value chain. So when we generally see work that is done on value chain, it's generally mostly work on supply chain rather than value chain, because there is it is used interchangeably and one is sort of overlapping the other. So basically, what is the difference between, if you look at the difference between supply chain and value chain, though the concepts are used interchangeably, it is basically, if you look at supply chain, it is the transfer of material from one place to another. So if there's a product that's demanded, that reaches the customer, so that consumer. So that is what a supply chain is all about. But value chain primarily is concerned with providing value for price, product, or service. So the concept of value chain basically is that we have to add value to a particular product, and it begins with a request from the consumer and ends with the product. So it's basically, supply chain is something that is top down, but value chain is something that is bottom up. So for the same price or for a lesser price, if you can produce something that the consumer really wants with a value that is added to a particular product at any node in the activity, that is actually value chain. So supply chain is sort of inherent in value chain, but value chain is something more than the supply chain. So that is basically the difference between supply chain and value chain, though these are interchangeably used, and most studies on value chains are basically studies on supply chains rather than on value chains. So as I said, the supply chain for flow of products is from suppliers to the consumers, and it is basically down from the source to the consumer, while value chain, it starts with the consumer's request and its flow is up from the consumers to the source. So while supply chains basically are involved with planning and designing of a product and delivering the product after passing through the sourcing of the materials or components needed to produce the goods and manufacturing, and also accepting of defective products. So that is basically the supply chain that has. But value chain sort of advances towards several other things like innovation, like R&D, like testing your product, marketing, and analyzing social and economic trends. So basically, that is the difference between, if you want a supply chain to actually graduate to a value chain, you have to look at other things that are outside the supply chain, but are very, very important in its actual growth and development. So this concept of value chain analysis has actually come from a seminal work by Michael Porter in 1985 called Competitive Advantage. So basically, it was to see how one firm can have a competitive advantage over the other. So even if you look at seafood exports, basically it is, when we say that India is exporting a lot of products that are basically in the raw form or in the primary form, it's because of that competitive advantage that it has. So since its fishery is a multi-species, a tropical fishery, and since the products that come out of it are in demand in several countries, as the chairman of the Marine Products Export Development Authority was mentioning, India is basically the fourth largest exporter of seafood in the world. So that is the competitive advantage that the country really has. So whether increasing value addition, whether that process will bring in a competitive advantage is something that actually could have kept the industry back from going into value addition. So basically, it is a competitive advantage of a firm where And the major steps that are involved in evaluation analysis is that you identify each of the activities, that is a node it is called, each of the activities, and you analyze at each point whether the value that you are adding in each point actually improves the competitive strength of the firm or the company. So he has actually divided this into two main components. One is the primary activities. This is actually the supply chain activities where you have the inbound logistics, you have the operations, you have the outbound logistics, you have marketing, sales, and services, and from where you get your profit margin. He has added, support activities like the infrastructure, the people involved in the process, the technology, and the other support activities that also can add up to your margin. So that is where the competitive advantage actually comes in, and that is where that is when your supply chain actually graduates to becoming a value chain. I hope we are on the same level, all of you, because we are in different time zones. So I understand that there may be difficulties in, the being on the same level. So, but I hope what I'm saying is making sense. And if there is anything that you require in between a clarification, you're free to please stop me at any time. So moving further, if you really compare the supply chain and value chain, I'm spending some time on the supply chain and value chain, basically to see that you understand that the difference basically between the two. So if you look at the comparison between the two, as we've seen from the previous slides also, the meaning, in meaning it differs. Supply chain is the integration of all the activities involved in the procurement, in the conversion, and in logistics of the product, while value chain is a series of activities that adds value to the product. And basically the origin is from operations management in supply chain, and it's the whole business management approach when we come to the value chain. And the concept is basically you're taking a product that you're producing to the consumer in supply chain, while in value chain, the concept is basically of value addition and in gaining some competitive advantage, unlike the supply chain where it is basically your consumer is satisfied and you're looking only at that. Now we'll sort of come to fisheries and why fisheries is so important. I think both our honorable guests in the inaugural session spoke about this at length, because fisheries can play a major role in achieving our SDGs, especially on SDG 2 on hunger and nutrition. So and it is also one of the most traded commodities globally, and it contributes significantly to food and nutrition security as well as livelihood and employment generation. So we know that there are millions of people around the world are involved, and a lot of women are involved in the fisheries value chains. So it contributes significantly to both household food and nutritional security as well as ensuring livelihood and employment of people involved in the sector. And also aquaculture, which is now increasingly contributing to fish production globally, is one of the fastest growing food production systems, both in the country and in the world. So India's role in fisheries in the global scenario was already mentioned. We are one of the largest producers and exporters, and its global contribution is about 7.5%. And globally also, we have fish production of about 170 odd million tons of valued at about $400 billion at the first point of sale. And out of this, almost 85% goes for human consumption, which is very, very important, because that is how the animal protein of a large section of the population of the world comes from. And as that was also, as our director was also mentioning, it is estimated around 20.5 kgs per capita, though there is a lot of variation within countries and regions in per capita consumption of food. And aquaculture today accounts for almost 46% of production and 52% of consumption of fish in the world. We know China is the global leader in fish production. So excluding China, if we see, it's followed by Asia and the Americas, Europe, and Africa has about 7%. contribution to fish production in the world. And the important point to note is that over the last few decades, almost 2 decades, the fish production in Africa and Asia has almost doubled, which is mainly driven by aquaculture. And these are just some of the graphs. This I've taken from the FAO State of Fisheries and Aquaculture report. So these are this is the capture producers in the world. Again, China, followed by Indonesia, Peru, India, and other countries. Basically, if you look at South American countries, it's driven by the anchovy fishery. And this is again the aquaculture production. We have a lot of finfish being produced, crustaceans and mollusks, which are also traded globally around the world. Also, an important point in fisheries that is important from the point of view of meeting our SDGs and our hunger and nutrition goals is that fish consumption has increased by about 3.1% average annual rate. That is from 61 to 2017. If you take this is more than the world population growth, and it is higher than all other animal protein foods. So this is fish has come to become a very, very important protein source for a large section of the population in the world. And it has increased to 20.5 kgs, as I already mentioned. There are some trends that have been identified all over the world. While in developed countries, it is as high as 24. Even in developing countries, it is very high as 19.4 kgs. And even in least developed and low-income food deficit countries, it is as high as 12.6 kgs and 9.3 kgs. Though it has to increase, but it is fairly significant. Fish actually is part of the diet and contributes to the protein protein needs of the large sections of the world population. So 17% of global population's intake of animal proteins comes from fish, and it is also 7% of all proteins consumed. So if we take plant and animal, it is almost 7% of the protein that is consumed. And on average, we find that 3.3 billion people get 20% of their protein intake from fish. So that this is just to highlight that fish is so important to meeting the protein requirements and nutrition needs of the people of the world. And if you look at some countries, it is more than 50%, especially the small island developing states, also countries like Bangladesh, Cambodia, Gambia, Ghana, Indonesia, and Sierra Leone. So this just goes on to highlight the importance that fish and fisheries can play in food and nutrition security, as well as in ensuring livelihood and employment security to people around the world. So these are some of the projections that the SOPIA report actually has made, that world both production, consumption, and trade will increase, but it may slow, the growth rate may slow over time. Capture production also will grow moderately if it is properly managed, and aquaculture again will increase, but the growth will be decelerated, but it will actually meet the supply-demand gap that is expected. And fish food supply will increase in all regions, but the projection is that it is expected to decline in Africa, which is a cause of concern and can be addressed right away. And trade in fish and fishery products is also expected to increase. It's already very high, but it's also expected to increase more slowly than in the past decade, but generally, but definitely will increase. And now with the trade agreements that have been signed, it is likely that there may be more trade in fish and fishery products. So how do we actually shift from the supply chain concept in fisheries to a value chain concept in fisheries? Now, increasingly, supply chain is no longer being used. It is generally being called a value chain throughout in most of the major international documents and instruments that we see. So supply chain is no longer being so widely used, and it is basically looking at value chain and how we can improve the value chain. Even small interventions, technological interventions, information intervention can actually add value to the chain. So if you break down the activities in fisheries, so basically value chain analysis, you break down the activities and see how you can add value at each of these nodes. So we know that there is fishing, that is the production, and then you have various post-harvest activities that actually bring the fish produce to the ultimate consumer. You have marketing, you have pre-processing, you have processing, which can be traditional or it can be modern commercial processing. And you have other support activities like the transportation infrastructure in your landing centers, in your harbors, your cold storages, your warehouses, etc., which actually add up to all the activities in the supply chain. And this is a very schematic representation of what we see generally in India, and could be common to several other countries from where you're participating. Only difference being whether it is marine or inland fisheries. So basically you may have a landing center or a harbor or a small landing place where the fishermen bring their fish, and from there it actually goes into various streams. Like it can go into processing, or it can go into drying, or it can directly go into market and reach the consumer. So you have several functionaries, and though it looks very, very simple, when you reach from the producer to the consumer, you have several, other functionaries in between. Like you have commission agents, you have auctioneers, you have traders of various dealing in different volumes, you have other market functionaries, you have transporters. And also this whole thing works in an environment where you have the policy, where you have practices and processes that are inherent and intertwined in the whole system. So this actually is very, very complicated and complex, and not so easy as it appears to in the first, when you look at it very simply. So if you look at fish supply chain, it is a set of independent actors. It can be fishers, it can be agents, it can be processors, it can be distributors, and it can be wholesalers, retailers, and food service providers. They work together to supply this fish to the consumer. And all this is interlinked, because actions taken by one member of the supply chain can affect the other. It can improve or it can disturb the complete chain, and it also will have a long-term impact or a back impact on the livelihoods of fishermen who have fishing as their primary source of income. And these impacts can be global or local. So depending on whether the fishery thrives or fails, the impacts can be global or local. So value chains actually vary between countries, between species, and between regions. So that is only normal, because the fish that is produced in one country is maybe completely different from the one that is produced in another country. And fish that is produced in a particular country may be locally consumed, or it may be something that is only exported. For instance, if you look at India, we have a fish that is preferred locally, like sardine or mackerel or shrimp. But we have some other, for instance, mollusks and cephalopods like squid and cuttlefish that are not so very popular in the domestic market. So they get exported, mostly exported, but they have an export market, so they're exported. So there is a lot of variation between the species and the regions and the countries when it comes to value chains. And value chain basically describes how the fishery businesses receive the raw material, how they add value to the raw material, and they sell the fish finished products. And it is all interlinked. This again I have taken from Michael Porter's, the same thing, the same figure that you saw earlier. So you have the supply chain, and you have certain other things that can actually improve and graduate into a value chain. So in the value chain analysis in fisheries business, if you're looking at a fisheries business, you have to look at every step. So from where the raw material has come, what the raw material is going through, and who is the eventual end user. And you see whether the end user actually has a premium product in mind, so that you can actually back work and develop the product in a way. So that is basic goal is to deliver maximum value for the least possible cost, so that you don't add up to your cost. So you don't really jump into a value chain board before understanding what the consumer requires and what he holds as a premium value. So it could actually mean a very small thing, like say maintaining the quality of the fish by say something like simple icing. So even that adds value to your ultimate product and the price that the product will fetch. So this is useful in identifying and understanding the crucial aspects to achieve competitive strengths and core competencies in the marketplace. So basically it is competitive advantage. what competitive advantage that you can have in a market. So it can be between two retailers, it can be between wholesalers and retailers. So it can be at any point in the value chain, any node in the value chain. The competitive strength can be worked upon. So as I mentioned in the previous slides also, the activities are tied together to ultimately we have to create value for the consumer. The consumer should feel that what he is buying is something worthwhile. So we know that certain high priced products, just because of the brand, the the product is worth so much that we see that in other products, especially in the fashion industry, we see that. So it is all branded, and that brand actually is what actually gives value to the product. So it is ultimately creating value for the consumer. We are not looking at that sort of thing in fisheries, because what we're talking of is those small additions to value which can actually bring in improved profits and improved incomes to our fishermen. So ultimately that is our aim. And we break down the key activities. We look at potential for adding value, and we focus on these activities. So this is something that I already mentioned, and this is the same, it applies to fish businesses as well. Fisheries and fish businesses are rather complex. As I said already, the supply chains itself are very complex. It's basically due to the unpredictability, due to the fundamental characteristic of the commodity. Fish products, there is so much of diversity. There is you have wild caught fish, or you have cultured fish. You have different species of fish. You have different stages of life of fish that you catch and that you can sell. So there is, and basically there is, it is such a vulnerable product. It gets spoiled very fast. It has such a very short shelf life, and it requires to be really maintained well, so that its quality is retained. So there is a lot of unpredictability due to the characteristic of the commodity, and also due to different harvesting techniques that we adopt. Especially if you look at Asian and African countries, we don't really have the highly industrialized commercial fishing fleets that Europe or the North American countries can boast of. We all are generally small scale. Our fishing is traditional mostly, and even if there is mechanization of the fishing industry, it has not reached those levels or those volumes that can be strictly called commercial and industrial fisheries. So, and we still have wide variety of harvesting techniques that we use from very small scale cast nets to trawls and pole and line, and several other harvesting techniques. This is highly perishable, as I mentioned, and you have diversity as far as the end user is concerned. So it's not that you have a homogeneous group of consumers. You have it may be the domestic market, the small village markets, or it may be bigger markets in the cities, or it may be an export market. And there is difference in socioeconomic, environmental, and cultural aspects of your consumers. And the markets itself are very dispersed. So the production point or the node is, it can be completely very far off from where the decisions on what is to be marketed or what is to be consumed is taken. So there is a lot of dispersion as far as the markets are concerned. And source tracking, which is very important for value addition, may be very difficult. And one of the strategies that have been postulated is to shift from the 4 Ps that was traditional marketing, product, place, price, promotion, to the 7 Ps. So there we have added people, because the services that go into the value chain are performed by people whose performance actually influences the quality of the services delivered and are perceived to be delivered. So there is a perception issue as far as the value chain is concerned. And it is also the process. It's not just the attitude of the person that matters, but also the process they use to provide the service and the physical evidence. So these services that people and processes provide are actually intangible. You really can't see that. And the customer actually will look for some physical clues for this, whether, in the form of certification, whether it's social certification, or whether it's any other sort of certification that actually gives this product the brand that it requires, that it is claiming to be. So these are the additional 7 Ps the additional 3 Ps that have been added to the 4 Ps of marketing.
And if you look at the 4 Ps, we know that the producer produces what he or she wants, and the volumes are very low and not homogeneous, and it's scattered. Production is scattered all over, and it, in very small scale, in small scale fishermen or small scale farms. So there's need for some clustering, for some aggregation at that level, so that we can benefit from the concept of value chain. And we have a definite need for improvement in harvesting technologies, and there is a lot of information inadequacy in the sector. So that is what actually characterizes much of our fisheries, and we are not able to actually gain the advantages of the value chain in this sector. And if you look at the infrastructure, post-harvest infrastructure, we know that it is very, very poor. And we know that it is still agent driven. So we have a lot of intermediaries in the marketing chain, and this is common to all countries that probably are participating in this training. So we have a lot of intermediaries who actually gain much more than either the producer and the consumer should effectively be. And we know that our transportation and other facilities are poor, and we have poor infrastructure facilities in the form of ice and cold storage. And we have a high degree of wastage, which was again and again emphasized by our inaugural speakers. So the produce, as a result of all this, the produce is fairly inconsistent in quality, and added to it is the inadequate and outdated infrastructure and wastage, which can constrain both domestic and export markets. So if these are the lacuna, we know that improving on this will definitely improve the value chain. So we have to produce what the consumer wants with stronger linkages in the market. Both the producer and the consumer should have high levels of awareness, and there should be intervention with modern technology for leveraging significant extension work, and also improve post-harvesting technologies to reduce wastage, and a bit more organized retailing with higher quality production. For this, we would need a lot of investment in distribution infrastructure. It's not enough if you actually have cold storage facilities and good logistics if the stakeholders are not involved. You need stakeholder involvement in actually understanding what they need and how these things can be aggregated and intervene. So we have interventions, but which sometimes can actually backfire. So we have to actually go back to the stakeholders, see what they need for improving value, adding value, and then go about developing the value chain. And there should be more concern on services, that the services that are rendered, and the people that are involved, on skilling them, on building their capacities, on improving processes, streamlining processes, as well as trying to see that the consumers are aware of how this has been streamlined and how value has been added. So we know that it varies. Again, value chains, there are significant value chains in fisheries. We know tuna is highly valued. In regional level, if you see in Bangladesh, Hilsa, they have smaller supply and value chains, but Hilsa is a very prized product. So it differs widely across regions and global, and as well as globally. And this has to be taken care of when we go about building our businesses. And all stakeholders should concentrate on competitiveness and productivity, and look for and exploit multiple ways to add value. So, and if you can ensure sustainability, I think the returns will be much more valuable. So some of the challenges that in fisheries we face is that there is lack of data at production level and at all other levels. This, I think, is maybe all the countries that are participating, this may be true, because while there are very, very organized ways of extracting data and recording data in several Nordic countries, we find that in several of our Asian countries and African countries, we have very poor data availability on production and on sustainability, on resource management and legality of a product. And we have a lot of aggregation complexities, because especially in a country like India, we have this huge problem because we're such a, the size of the country makes this a huge problem. It may not be so in several of the other countries, but still we have aggregation complexity, basically because of the type of fishery that we have in our countries.
And there is this relationship dynamics because there is a human side of supply chain, the power in decision making. The fisherman may not really have the power to decide what to produce, how much to produce, and how freely he'll be able to sell the product. So there is this relationship dynamics which has to be taken into account when we actually start working on value chain development in the sector. So that's why I mentioned previously that stakeholders have to be taken into consideration, and some cluster approach on clustering of fishermen of similar type of fishery can give some collective gains. And I was happy to see that the Secretary General was actually involved in the cooperative movement in his country. So that is a very, very important movement, though there are several drawbacks to that. There are several political and social issues that come up with corporatization. But I think that is one of the institutions that we should actually strengthen to improve the value chains in fisheries. And we know that several countries there is lack of monitoring and enforcement, and basically fishers are not business people. So fishing is not a business activity. It is basically a livelihood activity. It is something that is traditionally done. It is something that has cultural overtones. So basically fishers are not business people. But we have to see that there is some sort of business mindedness coming in it, so that we can actually improve the value chain. And there is interrelatedness of all these challenges together. So coming to what we can really do is, it's a very powerful tool, as you must have understood by now. It is basically because we're trying to improve the value, add value with minimum cost, so that it can benefit all stakeholders in the chain. So ultimately, it will benefit our fishermen and fisherwomen in the chain. So we have to address the supply chain challenges and see that it graduates to a value chain. So we have to perform crucial activities better than our competitors. So that is fundamentally the comparative advantage that we need to actually develop and build. And we can also harness technology opportunities. I already told about harvesting and post-harvest, but we also can have new things coming in, like automatic AI using artificial intelligence and machine learning. So how can that be involved? So integrated into value chain. You have aquaculture with precision aquaculture and monitoring, and you have blockchain, which is increasingly being used by businesses, where we can actually have traceability, accuracy, and accountability. Blockchain is basically a database approach, which is stored and retrieved, and it can help in decision making. So, and we have other emerging issues like sustainability, resource management, biosecurity, etc., that need to be addressed. And if you can look at it holistically, but at the same time with activities broken up, and see what value can be added at each level so that it benefits ultimately the fishermen and women in the sector, I think we would have achieved our aim, and we will have better managed fisheries and fish value chains. So with that, I close my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
And if do we have time for some interaction, or are we out of time?
Quickly, if you have any doubt, you can ask.
If there are a couple of questions, I can take them. Regula says we have time for a couple of questions. Don't see any questions. Anyway, I hope, yeah, Manisha. Yeah.
Yes, hi. So I'm Manisha from Mauritius. Earlier in the presentation on order, you mentioned that they're doing quality drying of fish. I just wanted to know more about that, the quality drying of fish. What are you using for the drying of fish?
Quality
drying of fish.
Drying. You want to know about drying? Okay.
Quality drying of fish. So the term quality drying was used. I just wanted to know about the specificity of this.
Okay. So, Manisha, I think just like in our country, traditionally drying has been done by sun drying. So we used to
Yes.
do it sun drying in open beaches generally. So there have been small interventions, technology interventions, and I think it's very popular in several African countries where you have drying on raised platforms now. So in several countries that has been introduced. But CIFT has had, we have been having over the past several years, we've been working on using dryers for drying fish. So we have developed solar dryers. We have developed dryers using biomass, because that may be available. Firewood may be available in several countries. So just as it is in India. So we have biomass based dryers. We have electricity based dryers. We have hybrid dryers, that is using more than one source of energy. We have developed, our engineering division has developed several dryers. So these are now being adapted and adopted by several entrepreneurs for drying fish. So the advantage is that you can dry fish faster and you can maintain the quality of the fish. So when we see open beach drying and open sun drying, we know that there is there's a chance for contamination by either it could be sand or it could be any other types of contamination. So those types of contamination are sort of eliminated from the dryers that are used. We can actually scale it up or down depending on the people who are using it. We have very small dryers that small women's groups, self-help groups are using, or we have big commercial dryers that entrepreneurs who want to actually come into the market with dry products are using. So we can scale up or scale down depending on the people who are interested in it. So that is the quality improvement in drying. You can dry it quicker, faster, as well as maintain the quality without any contamination, external
Okay, so the new technology that you're using, so it applies for any fish species?
Tomorrow, I think you are there having one detailed session.
There is one session by Dr. Morelli on exclusively on machinery for small scale fisheries, and I think he will be dealing with all the dryers that have been developed by the institute. So I think Manisha will get a better idea too. Okay, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So we shall now move on to next session.
Okay, before Regula calls on to the next speaker, I thank everyone for the patient hearing, and if there is any question, you can please leave it in the chat box so I can respond to that or send an email. Thank you all for the patient hearing, and stay safe. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next session is on global status on value chain development in fisheries, issues and opportunities. Dr. Suresh A. is the principal scientist in the Extension Information and Statistics Division. He is having 17 years of experience in the field of agriculture and economics. Prior to coming to ICR-CIFT, he was working in the ICR National Institute of Agricultural Economics and Policy Research, New Delhi. And also, he is having several research papers and publications. Now, I welcome sir to this session.
Thank you, Dr. Regula, for inviting, and welcome to these presentations. So now, just now we had an excellent presentation from Dr. Nikita Gopal on the basic concept of value chain development, and now let us discuss take this discussion from where she stopped her discussion and take forward. In between, I will also be touching upon the basic concept of value chain in the context of fisheries, and how the analytical approach can be of use to take this value chain approach for greater social objectives of poverty alleviation kind of thing. So now already it was discussed that value chain approach is a holistic approach, and there is a whole lot of difference from supply chain approach because it takes into account each of the activities done at different scales and at different levels, and the value generated at each level. Therefore, what we can say is that value chain where the supply chain, it starts from the raw material and then go to the end customers. On the other hand, the value chain is on the opposite. An analytical approach towards value chain has to start from the end customers who we target, and from there we can come back to the origin of the primary producers and how the value has been flowing at each stage can be analyzed. What I mean is that the queue for what is to be produced is not from the producer level, but from the market level or from the end consumers. That stands out the greater difference between the, that makes the whole lot of difference between value chain and supply chain. And here, how the poverty can be addressed through the value chain approach is that those value chains which addresses the livelihood as the major issue or generates the employment or offers business opportunities to the poor entrepreneurs or at least delivers products consumed by the poor people. So as a country which is poor or which is having a labor surplus, as in the case of India or many Asian countries or African countries, where we may have a strategy which is more of labor intensive and a value chain which absorbs the labor and provide employment to the mass of the population will be having the poverty reduction effect. So that's a policy point of view while developing supports for value chain, whether it is a fisheries or agriculture or livestock. Now, the important aspect towards such an approach, that is turning the value chain into an instrument for poverty alleviation or inequality reduction, needs value chain mapping, which is in fact a collection of information about a particular value chain. That's a precondition. So how this can be done in a country level is that the detailed information can be gathered by using a different a combination of approaches like the primary data collection, PRS, then informal interviews and secondary data and discussions. And from there, we know how the value, what are the value chains existing. Like in the case of fisheries, it can start like from the input supply, then going to the production process, then processing, marketing, consumption. These are the activities which starts from one end to the another end. And like there are different kind of functions, like maybe supplying. In the case of input supply, it is like supplying fingerlings, chemicals, then the production process, processing like traditional and advanced processing technologies, then marketing like transport, wholesale, these kind of things. And there are actors who are involved in that. So there are differentiated kind of actors who are differing in terms of their access to technology and their capital or the wealth or the business entrepreneurship, the ability of that differs. And then how it will look like if you go for a mapping of value chain in case of fisheries. First, we can see on the green circles on the top, that is something the enabling environments, we can say, like the we start like tax regime, trade standards, contract enforcement, finance policy, and then business regulations, then quality assurance institutions, land registries. These are the enabling overall macro environment under which the value chain operates. And then on the bottom side, we can see that is business and extension services. There are a lot of facilitation services, upgrading standards, then the market information. These are other services which are related to or which are supplying information or which are facilitating the development of the value chain. So we have on the bottom and the top two kind of enabling environment and other support systems, and in between we have the whole lot of activities that is starting. First, as I told earlier, we are starting from the left-hand side, that is export market, then domestic market and institutions, and going towards the right side, then we will have the primary producers on the one end. That means this is the way the value chain is analyzed from the end point towards the start. And then coming to the definition, this is the, we know what there should be a governance structure also, like what are the kind of business activities governed. In a governed means by the government institutions or regulations or the type of linkage transactions kind of thing. So there are spot market operations are there, vertical integration of the firms are there. These are the governance structure that should be available with the governments to enable development of the value chain. Now coming to the practical examples, simple example is like take an example of tomato ketchup manufacturing. We have on the left hand side tomato, which is available for Euro 1, and then on from the bottom side we have a lot of inputs like which is going like bottles, spices, and other ingredients. and then there is a production activities, and then it is generating a value of 2. So what's the thought, how this value is generated, and this 2 euros is something what the consumer pays, and then there is different kind of values accrued by each person in the value chain. Like here, it is about now, let us talk about fisheries, primary producers, product markets, traders, consumers are there. And at each level, some values are added. And finally, the consumer is having the last, the total value. And then what is the share of different people who are appropriating the value? Take, for example, the case of milk. This is dairy value chain in Kenya. So here the activities are milk production, then bulking or cooling, then trade transport, pasteurization, distribution, and retailing. So the activities, actors involved are milk producers for milk production, they are farmers, then farmer cooperatives for bulking or cooling, and then trade or transport by wholesale buyers, and pasteurizing by dairy plants, distribution by traders, and also big traders, and retailing by the retailers. So we have at each level, the milk is purchased at Kenyan shillings 13, and at the end we may have something around 60 or 70 rupees, 70 shillings for the final produce. So each actor is having a percentage share in the entire value generated. So here lies the whole lot of issue. Who has this greatest share, or how these values are distributed, or what's the share of each actor in the value chain? That makes a lot of difference on the quality of the value chain, or its capability to address the poverty or other issues. So we have the parameters of interest. Economic parameters here are the revenues, net income, gross market margin, and break-even point. These are certain economic parameters which can be used for analyzing this. Like the revenues can be price into volume will be the total revenue. Net income, as we know, is the total revenue minus total cost, including the variable cost and fixed cost. And then a gross market margin, between what are the difference between selling and buying prices. These are the methods by which we can analyze the value chain and map the value chain and analyze it further for policy purpose. Now we know how it can be depicted. It is like on the x-axis we can have different kind of factors: individual farmer, their accumulators, cooperatives. This is about the value chain distribution in the case of African catfish in Uganda. And it's a publication in 2011. So we have on the x-axis a different kind of actors who are participating, and the y-axis we have the prices accumulated. So if you see over the period, over the range, it starts from on the lower range, and when we go up on the y-axis, it will be something heights going to 4.5. That means consistently the value generated or the value charged at each point is higher. So the persons who are involved also will have the difference in the value generated. There will be a mean and minimum, maximum. This kind of distribution can be taken, and this can be utilized for analyzing the purpose, the policy interactions. Now coming to the fish value chain changes, there has been a lot of change in the value chain of fish over a period of time. Earlier it was like fisher or shipper controlled and cost driven one, and now with the development of the value chain, that activities has changed to retailer controlled or revenue driven. That makes a whole lot of difference in the approach. Like earlier it was like a production year round and multi-regional or inter-regional. This will be the activities undertaken by the fisher. It's a small scale of activity, whereas on the higher end, where the violet colors are used, it's a differentiated fish products, branding, labels, then a distribution, and a lot of other activities coming the retailer control. So this is transforming, the activities are transforming something into more personalized services or products. The way Dr. Nikita Gopal was presenting earlier, the price, place, promotion activities are changing in the entire value chain and with the development of the economy. And this is what there it was explaining. And if you take on the right hand side, this is a schematic supply of supply chain. In the case of it is in the case of sea cucumber, I think sea cucumber that just happened. It was having how it is produced from one region and how it is going to another region. It's like a constricted bottle with both the sides having a bulge. And on the upper side, we have the fishers and there are a large number. Then there are the middlemen, and then a few exporters. And here all we can see with a blue or violet color. And now on the bottom we can see there are importers in another country, maybe in China or Hong Kong, and then wholesalers, retailers, and consumers. So this is something like the number of persons on both the end, at the consumer end and the production end, are larger, and the concerns are distributed, and that is to be collected with the market information to the middle level, and then that information is to be passed. So this is the typical value chain of fisheries, how it look like. And now going detail into such a value chain, that is the Hilsa fishing case of Bangladesh, a paper published in Marine Policy, how the different kind of activities are there. See, 3 stages are shown. One is the stage 1, where the primary market or extraction is there. There's a family-based enterprises. People are going for fishing. Like the actors are, it's a river ecosystem. Hilsa is a riverine fish. And then the financial inputs are there. What are the agencies which supply the finance, like professional money lenders may be there, banks may be there. Then technical inputs like agriculture or fisheries universities or a research system. And then safety inputs like what are the safety equipments, radio, communications. These are the fishing level. And on the stage 2, that is secondary market, there's a bepari or there is trader who make the value proposition or manages the fish. And then there is other level of actors in the secondary markets who facilitated the landing center or provide finance. And the third stage is a consumer side in the local as well as in export market. And how this value is distributed can be analyzed by using different methods, and we can disaggregate the entire value chain into these different sectors and how each persons in the value chain get the benefits. And this is about octopus value chain in Mexico. Has published a paper from 2020, and who are the different actors in the octopus harvest, and what is the character of that octopus fishing system, and then how that octopus octopus is going from one hand of processing to another, and this look like the value chain. So it's a detailed, we can map the entire value chain by making surveys, interaction with the people, and how the economics or the how the different people are paying and how much is the value generated. And this is a very useful instrument for policy analysis as well as business development. This is a useful tool for business development. And this is the economic structure of the value chain as it goes from the community on the left-hand side column, community, peninsula, national, and international. We can see the prices move from $1.5 per kg to $8.5 per kg. So how the difference 8.5 minus 1.5 that's 7. That's the value generated at each node. And this can be the way how the economy is benefiting. One country is benefiting or other countries benefiting. And that means who is benefiting the entire value chain, who is gaining and who is losing, and what's the weakest linkage can be identified. And now how the global value chains are changing. We can say that the capture fisheries is the aquaculture's role is now increasing, or it is improving the entire world. As we know, it's a data from FAO. Out of the total fish production of about 180 million tons, we can say in 2018, capture fisheries accounts for almost 96. We can take roughly as 100, and remaining by the aquaculture. But the role of aquaculture is increasing. And in the value chain, the human consumption is 156 million tons, whereas non-food uses is around 22.2. So we have the time series data for over a period of time, and out of that we can say the yellow one, it shows the capture fisheries is almost stagnant over years, whereas the aquaculture's role is improving, and this will be having a change in the entire value chain. Like what are the kind of inputs to be supplied for the fish production? What's the kind of processing can be undertaken will be will be affected by this kind of compositional changes in the fish production, and that will be a driver in the changes in the value chain that is to happen. And on the other hand, we can see how the per capita apparent consumption is moving up. We can say the red line shows the apparent consumption is moving up, and but still there are regions where a lot of apparent consumption is quite low. We can see in some other slide that aspect. And this is about the capture fisheries trend. And earlier, Dr. Nikita Gopal was showing this the country-wise changes. China accounts for most of the capture fishery production. It's almost 15%, and the cumulative total is given in the blue line that is going on the depicted on the y-axis, means z-axis. And now this is about the aquaculture production and the trends we can see. On the top of it, algal production, production of algae is going up. So the kind of value chain that we can expect in fisheries will be having an influence of the increased production of algae in the fishery system. And the employment potential. This is about the employment potential of fish or fisheries or aquaculture. Then we can say that it gives a total employment of some in 2018. It is about 20 million, and it will be something. What we can say is that if you take the African countries, the total employment was around 2,812,000, that is 2.8 million in 1995, but it is 5.4 million in 2018. And this region happens to be the region with the highest improvement in terms of percentage of employment change or increase due to fisheries. And now this is about the per capita apparent consumption. Even though we know that the apparent consumption at aggregate level is improving, there are a whole lot of region where the fish consumption is quite low. So the focus of the value chain development will be giving access to the fish in those regions where the fish consumption is quite low. That gives an opportunity. That is a constraint, but that gives opportunity for the value chain development. Now, if you see what are the drivers or the challenges, as the topic mentions, the prospects, challenges and the prospects for value chain development, we have to basically analyze what could be the factors that leads to development of value chain, or the potential point of entry for the value chain development. For that, we can disaggregate the different dimensions of the value chain development and the drivers that affect it. The first and foremost one will be the population growth or the change in the demographies that's going to affect the value chain development. For example, number one is ethnicity and race. For example, preference for meat. Some regions have more preference towards meat compared to fish. And some region, on the other hand, the eastern side of the world has high demand for a variety of fish. And some fishes are consumed or marine products are consumed only in certain countries like sea cucumber, shark fins, etc., where Chinese markets are the area where it is consumed. And the geographical distribution of fishes, that could be a potential driver or driver for value chain development. Like fish harvest and post harvest depends on the availability of fish species, and there are multi-species fishery in many areas, particularly in tropical regions. And the style and the taste and preference also varies, like culinary style varies and taste and preference also changes. Also, the age difference also makes a change in the or a different kind of demand in the value chain. And then extent of travel as a very important factor. As the globalization occurs, our entire world is becoming a global village. People tends to travel more, and wide travels expands the horizons of demand. And market needs a new product. And then the literacy. With the improvement of literacy, the demand for food safety, there will be quality demand, sustainability, responsible fishery, climate change, pollution, certification. These will be more sensitive as the people become more and more literate and aware about these issues. And here, of course, the value chain of the world has changed a whole lot because of these issues like food safety issues. We know the WTO World Trade Organization and its sanitary and phytosanitary conditions has put on a lot of conditions to align its quality standards towards the international or highly acceptable highly sophisticated standards, which needs a lot of investment on the part of the developing countries to comply with these regulations. And that's what development of a new value chains of support systems and service systems. Then the retailer promotion, that's another important factor which drive the demand, like retailer competition, promotion, and economics of scale. Now, consumer preference also matters. Here, the major factors of development of the new value chain will be the prices. And like, for example, Japan is a country where fresh fish is needed and the people engage in daily shopping. And on the other hand, the Western countries, the taste and preferences changes, and it is more towards the processed products or cooked products. And so the kind of shopping activities are mostly on the weekends. So the value chain also has to align according to these preferences of the destinations as well as the prices. Then the quality changes. As I told earlier, European Union has a directive on food safety and sanitation. In USA, United States Food and Drug Authority, and Japan also has its own standards. And now the developing countries also making standards and making it for the domestic fish markets as well. The convenience is a major driver of the value chain development. Like high demand for clean, cut, and ready to cook or ready to eat forms of fish, and there's a high willingness to pay for an extra premium for these kind of convenience cuts or convenience packing, and the year-round availability, then variety and nutritional content, safety, greenness. These are certain factors which affect the change in the value chain and offers certain constraints as well as the opportunities for furthering the value chain development. And another major area will be volume of purchase, how much the consumer is ready to buy, and that's very important and depends upon the family requirement or personal requirement as well as his disposable income that is available towards purchasing this. Then the presentation, labeling issues like which is intended to provide information on product composition and the safety and traceability. Then certification issues. And the next one is the technology will be a major driver in the value chain development. For example, market information system. As we told about the blockchain technologies, artificial intelligence, and even the Google data which is available, that will be an important source of information towards the market development, and that will drive the further changes in the value chain of fish and the fish products. Although market intelligence systems are there, mobile phones will be a great technology to come into that area. Then progress in supply chain management will be there, like several possible routes of supply chain management, including importing and re-exporting. The fish is caught in one country, processed in another country, pre-processing, and it's coming to processing and greater level of processing in another country and exported to another one. Like a very long value chain where the processing, import, processing, and re-export is happening. That is that's happening for quite a long time, but the prospects of that is furthering with the advancement of technologies in certain part of the world, and changes in harvest and post-harvest technology, like which increases the availability of ready to eat and ready to serve foods. And then advances in transport and handling will serve to the need to have live fish, fresh fish demands. And the next one will be the regulatory changes which is happening in the world with respect to official standards and association, labeling, then environmental protection. For example, where this institute is there, Cochin, in the state of Kerala, the state government has promulgated rules and regulations towards regulating marine fishing activities to align its entire operations towards code of conduct of responsible fisheries. It has prohibited certain operations at certain point of time, and so that responsible fisheries is undertaking is to be practiced. So that's a change in the value chain. And another one will be the labor and animal rights. Ethical consumerism is gaining popularity, and the method of fishing is to be more of humane and aligned towards the natural environment, and then protect the fundamental rights of the workers. This have been gaining more and reduce the child labor in the entire value chain. This has been gaining a momentum and will have an impact on the kind of value chain that is to be developed. And the other factors, in fact, the most important will be the market access. As far as the trade is concerned, quarantine restrictions and the other non-tariff trade barriers will be having an influence. Value-added fish and fishery products require substantial investments and to align our standards with the global sanitary and phytosanitary condition that will require greater investment from these developing countries, which for many is beyond their capacity to adhere with. and then the tariff and stringent norms. Then we have the distribution and the retailing, where the transport and labor are the key points of factors. The last one will be the economic growth trends, because we know the demand for fish is elastic, which means that the percentage change in the demand for quantity demanded of fish will be sensitive to a percentage change in the income and the prices. So therefore, the change in the disposable income with the consumers is quite important, and therefore the economic growth and its proportion to all the persons will have an impact on the demand for fish in the long run. The more equitable the income is distributed, the more will be the faster will be the improvement in the or increase in the change in the demand for fish and the fish products. And major nodes in the entire value chain, who will be affected? All the value chain nodes, players, producers, processors, traders, retailers, consumers, financiers, certification services, and transportation, storage, and other logistic input providers. All these are the potential agents who could work in the value chain nodes, and this kind of changes which I mentioned earlier will have an impact on all these nodes. And the major driver in the entire change will be the economic growth and the kind of sensitivity towards the labor and environmental issues, and then kind of technological development and market intelligence. This will be the potential opportunities for improving. These will be the challenges as well as offer opportunities for improving the value chain and the preparation of these values to the consumer, to the entire people who are engaged in the value chain. And that's all about the presentation. I was intending to be. Yeah. Thank you.
If anybody is having any doubts, you can clarify.
Yeah, any comments, suggestions are welcome. We can have some time.
Participants can ask your questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So we shall now move on to next topic. Okay.
Muthulakshmi, if you want to ask anything.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for question listening.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Next, we will have the topic fish marketing and price discovery in fish value chain by Dr. Jaya Jayanti, senior scientist, extension information and statistics division. Dr. Jayanti is a scientist in agricultural economics, and she has published various research articles, book chapters, and popular articles. She presented papers at prominent national and international forums. She visited Bangkok, Thailand in 2018 and Malaysia in 2019 for her presentations in international arena. Her specialization is production economics, marketing, and supply chain analysis and trade related to fisheries. She handled online classes as a faculty of fisheries science for students, and also she is having several publications in economic research. I invite Dr. Jayanti to handle the session. Yes, ma'am, you are audible. Yes.
Okay, actually, a warm welcome to everyone. Even though it is an pandemic situation. It's a great opportunity for us and also for you to be in interaction with that program. Now, that earlier speakers and also our guest, chief guest, they have highlighted that there is a system gaps which is prevalent in that fish value chain. So with this background, we will talk. My intention to make an clarity on that fish marketing and price discovery of fish value chain, right? So then, actually, we know that in the fish value chain, I'm not going into touch that introduction because we all know that from that fisheries field, the fish is highly demanded commodity. And also it is very crucial in terms of developing countries to attain that food security, poverty eradication, and also many of the sustainable development programs. So to make an efficient fish marketing system, that is not only an aim of increasing the fish production, it is also an holistic idea of improving the fisheries sector as a whole. So what we need to do is, right now there is an gaps in the fish availability, that is production gaps are there, and there is an price variations between the regions, and then that same region itself, there are different price differentials are there. So how to tackle these things and all? So by taking into that issues of that major items of that, we have to first concentrate on the value chain actors. So before I go into that different activities and actors, I will like to point out that marketing is an value added process. Everyone has to accept, because in economic terms, we used to say that it is a creation of utility. The creation of utility is not there means if everyone doesn't want everything, there won't be any existence of market. In this process of making that, there are different forms are there. There is one is of form utility. What is form utility means is, it is to transform the physical changes. That means that we will be changing that into different value added products. Not only as a raw material of as such, we are selling the fresh, we will be trying for a frozen, chilled products or dried products, as one of the participants already asked. What are the dryers which can be used for making into that? That is also comes into that form utility. Next one is that place. Place means each regions, or otherwise Asia and Africa, what we are targeting. That is the place movement. So one place, if it is deficit, another place may be of surplus. So that gaps movement can be achieved. That is place utility. So another thing, what we have to in each and small scale, that is micro approach, or otherwise taking into that larger seafood export markets, that one thing is preservation. Because what we are getting is, as the fish is very perishable, what we need to do is that excess fish has to be stored in a proper condition without deteriorating the quality. That makes determine the price. So that has to be ensured throughout that. Because from production to consumer till it reaches to consumer, what is the aim is, we have to maintain the quality. Next is possession. That means that ownership relations. Because in markets, if you are seeing that so many actors will be there, from consumers, wholesalers, retailers, but who will be having the ownership rights? If someone want to enter into one market and they have to set up as a wholesaler or retailer, is there any other provisions for them to register who are the wholesalers, whether there is any process under that to make into account? That should be of an linking line where the gaps to be taken out. Then quality utility. Quality utility has a safety and health, because there are a lot of contaminations. If we are saying that for preserving that, so many chemicals which is deteriorating our health, which is having a long-term impact on our health, is very deteriorating due to the contamination of fish. That has to be taken. Then information utility. That means one market is there, even it is a perfect market or otherwise an oligopoly market, but wherever may be, that information should be of very transparent. Doesn't know that one person doesn't know what is the price of that market. One person, if you are going, the quality will not be the same, but that quality will not be of less, but he will sell for higher price. That will be there. So there may be of some common mechanism to go for increasing that transparency. So this fish value chain as that main agenda of our training program. Already Nikita ma'am and Suresh sir, everyone, they have a special mention on that. So I will be saying that it is having a different actors, activities, and also we are covering at different levels that we have to keep in mind where we are going to take up our work as an stakeholders who will be the need we are going to address. That need to be highlighted. This is one of the value chain framework which is developed by the Porter, which comprises there is a different activities of private and secondary activities, and from that how the value is derived. That value is known as that margin. So what it is that full value chain, this will be called as marketing channels, because it is linking the different actors starting from producer to consumer. In this Porter value chain, if you are seeing, there is not only a producer. Before that procurement stage is the starting point where the input is procured. That needs to be covered under that value chain studies. So as I have given as channels, I have mentioned these things. Maybe of producer, somewhere it may be given as a route. There is a direct route from producer to consumer, or otherwise indirect route. Indirect route means some invisible actors who will not be of coming into a theoretical way, but they will be acting. They may commission agents or middlemen, they will be called as. They will be extracting the true profit of the producers. Actually, this one I want to show that how that market, the domestic market, that stage of domestic market is there. During that survey that has been analyzed, it's a state in that Kerala, but it's a very unorganized and it is having a very not having any assembled platform for that. Some of them are developed, but there are still under that substandard levels. But as we all know, right now we are experiencing, because we haven't already, that COVID situation has passed out that activities of everything. So by the time what we have relied on direct marketing. That's what that aim of that economists to be of linking with direct marketing, of linking producer. It's not a produce, it's a producer. It should be of producer to consumer. Directly they have to be linked. But who will be taking the advantage? Who will be using that net? Who will be having that digital connectivity? They can be utilized. But what about that section of people who is below that of substandard level, who are uneducated and below BPL level, below poverty level and all? It will be of very tough to take into that. As I was seeing, that is one participant was asking that, mentioning about that. And Nikita madam and Suresh already mentioned that it is a 4 P's. Already there is a marketing. It has been developed by Neil Bordon, economist. He has mentioned 4 P's. What is about 4 P's of that marketing means? Marketing is not a single concept of attaining that one aspect. We have to take into account that lot of aspects like price, place, people, product. But as the times goes on, it has been increased and gone to that 7 P's. Some of the organizations and some of them, they have included 8 P's and all. What may be the 8 is performance. So now there is a main thing they have taken is the physical environment of the place. That also one major thing to be concentrated to improve the physical infrastructure of the domestic markets. Because seafood markets, when we are comparing, it has an well-defined market channels, and it has been a traceability can be done with that. But with this domestic fish markets, it's very difficult to tackle these aspects. Another one thing which needs in this now that modern stage is it is a promotion. Promotion is nothing but who knows that what are the products is available with that wholesaler or particular market, what are the products available. If you are going to that supermarket and all, that proper display will be there. But is it possible to that to address in the domestic and all? That may be a question under this thing. So when we are taking into that each elements, I make it out, it is mainly what are the purpose it has been made is mainly to target that particular economic problems, how to solve particular economic problems. Usually basic economic problems, what we will be taking as a what to sell, where to sell, and how and when to sell, that plays so many things will be impacting. So right now, this attaining these aims that parts of that visibility and consumer, because nowadays there is consumers are the king of the king who determine the markets, whether it is a successful market or not a nugget. It depends on the choice of the consumers, because one choice or very less choice, then they won't allow. So what is that means? We need to increase the choices of the consumers. And next one broad aspect is that marketing research. Marketing research means it has a lot of concept like cost and yield, or what are the different margins which is related to that, and what are the determining factors, direct or indirect factors. That approach can be done using these research methodologies. That marketing research can be attained through these research methodologies of either of primary, secondary, quantitative or qualitative or exploratory. Like this we can approach. And as such, in this current scenario, that sustainable marketing is the very emerging phenomenon, because after the sustainable development goals and most of that sustainability aspects have been talked on that sustainable or green marketing is the major thing. So when we are talking about that, when we want to do on some of the works on the sustainability thing, what we need to do is we will be concentrating that triple bottom line of 3 P's. That is an people, they have a social interaction, and property, that is a profit is the economical, planet is the environment. So what we need to do is, without losing their feature value, we need to satisfy the present needs. That is our main goal. So instead of going for that other aspects, I will be concentrating on the performance and people. Because when we were increasing that, when we know that what the consumer want and how that already the existence of status of the markets lies, we can come into picture of how we will be linking the gaps. Usually that performance we will be assessing using the efficiency, that it is called as market efficiency. That market efficiency means what is the impact is whatever that input we are using, that output we will be getting in a it is the relationship between input and output measures. So the famous and popular methods we can use for deriving that marketing efficiency is that price spread. That is nothing but it is a how much of proportion of paid money by the consumer is going to the packet of that producers, that is ultimate fisherman. That is the price spread. And also that what is the consumer percentage rupees, that is from landing price to retail price, that proportion will be taken into that. That is called as percentage share of fisherman in the consumer rupee. One more method we can use for marketing efficiency is that developing index, market efficiency index, that is developed by some of the already economists. They have developed market experts. There can be used using that value addition. What is the proportion of value addition? And it varies because it is not standardized. We can use and customize based on our objective or purpose. So this is one of my personal experience which I have used for developing, assessing the efficiency of markets. Actually, that method which I used for assessing the efficiency of market is a DEA, that is data envelope analysis. In this data envelope analysis, actually that each markets I have taken as a decision making units, that is DMUs. It will be called as DMUs. And based on that variability of inputs and outputs selected, we will be assessing with the one of that open source software available, that is DEAP, that is customized. You can also download and experience and you can work on it, DEA. So this is that result what I have derived from that. In this result, what we used to get is, we will be getting that two things we will get. One is technical and scale efficiency. And in two scenarios, one is on constant return, another one is on variable return to scale. So both return to scale we can use, but a constant return to scale as such is not applicable to us. Better we can go for a variable return to scale to assess the market efficiency. It is not only stick to that efficiency of markets, the DEA has a wider applicability of assessing that efficiency of different fishing systems and also efficiency of different production systems we can use. In aquaculture also it has an applicability. So this can be used for us. And one thing what is interpreted from the result is, it should be of one is, it is an highly, that is fully efficient. There no need of it is going in a right way. There is no need of giving any of the efficiency measures to that. It's going in a right way. So whatever giving and low levels and all, it needs a certain improvements of that kind that can be, we will analyze using the factors. What are the factors can be determined in the detailed studies. So this one I have used for different actors. One is for producers, another wholesalers, and then for retailers. Based on that thing, I have summarized in such a way that how we can assess that where, because I have taken two regions, coastal and landlocked. As such, we can take an urban and rural. Like that, we can select according to our need. So from this, it is shown that red color, it is what is given is that of very alarming, and we have to give certain attention for that to improving the market structures or whatever efficiency to be improved, means certain measures has to be taken. So these are also one results from that. With this technical efficiencies, the different LC is the landing centers. So this has been compared how it is differ from that of average efficiency of the markets performed. The same kind, this is also mean efficiency that has been compared. So many of that markets which shows below that mean efficiency of the market shown. So it needs certain improvements. That means certain intervention is needed in that angle. So the same kind has been given for different district levels. So I'm not going into that detail. I will go into that. This is for retailers, that R1, R2, R3 and all. It is that retailers in the different districts. That means the district is one of the component, that is subdivision of the states in India. So based on this performance, that district level, that score has been compared, which are going beyond 90%. That means good. Who is below means that maybe need certain interventions. So from this, we can derive a conclusion of what markets have been performing well, better than which markets and which regions they are performing. This may be a one aspect which can be used for assessing the market efficiency, that is performance of the markets, which I used, that is a data envelopment analysis. As I told, one is performance I have covered. Now I am coming to that people, because people, that consumer or that, as I told, it is that vital role in that supply chain, whatever may be that food supply chain, what any sectors, they are the deciding factor. So what we need to do is their need has to be addressed. So how we can take into account is that consumer preference is one of the things we can take. Actually, this analysis, how I use that conjoint analysis for assessing that consumer preference of the fish in different, that is coastal and landlocked regions. For this, what I have, first of all, I have taken already, Suresh sir has mentioned in one of the slide that what is determining the products, that attributes has been already discussed. So based on that, it may be of varying. It is not a standard attributes. You can personalize to where is which is applicable for your studies or your area. You can select that. What I have selected is based on my region. I have selected. So this consumer response in the different district, it has been based on that attribute selected. I have studied, and as per that conjoint analysis, what we are assessing is that how that utility range or otherwise relative importance of that particular attribute is contributing for that consumer preference. That will be assessed. That it has been, as per my study, I covered that coastal and Languedoc region. So for the various attributes, how it is performing, which is having the highest percentage, that will be of relative importance is more, and which is having a lowest means we can give low preference by the consumer. So why they are low, that can be of in-depth study we can take up in the next stage. So this is about that marketing. What marketing we need to do is that marketing mix, what we are getting into that and influencing that linkages we need to track on. Now we will go to the price discovery. As we all know, we will determine the product based on that price. That is what that income level, what is money with that particular person, that is decided, and they will compare also this product and competitive commodities, that is goods also will be compared. So what is determining here is that demand and supply, because when we are doing that price, it is not determined automatically, but what we are determining is that it's based on that supply, it is determined. If the production is high, the price will be low. If that production is low, the price will be high. But what that theory says, that economists, they have derived the prices, it is using that demand and supply interaction. Actually, when the demand and supply interact, we will getting that equilibrium price, which is not possible anywhere. But what we are getting, this is an equilibrium. This EP is the equilibrium that we can't get anywhere. So what we need to do is that policy has to be from this. If you are going for then interpretation or some suitable policy formulations and all, we can use this for deriving that how that excess supply, if that price is going high, how the supply is going, and that impact on the demand consecutively on the demand, that has to be studied and interpreted in a correct way. And one more thing which is influencing, which is coming to that price discovery, means one thing which is highly related to this is market integration. If two places, they have a similar prices, but if they should have, that will be called as law of one price. That is means one market is having a particular price, means another market can be a little difference can be there, but it will be only transport cost and certain processing cost, and instead of that there won't be any difference. That means we don't have any price discrimination, because it should be a very determinantal to the markets, price discriminations and price differential. It should not affect the markets. So usually the price will be what we will be calculating in that market when studying that consumption, and otherwise for a product means either we will be going for elasticity, that is price elasticity or income elasticity of particular product in terms of supply or in terms of demand. That is the thing. In supply means we will be mainly concentrating production, so that supply side factors to be taken into account. In terms of that demand means we will be ultimately going for consumption, so that consumer side factors to be taken into account. This already what I have explained, only law of one price. So in this explaining this market integration, I studied on two markets. I related with that prices, that is weekly prices of different fish species, that is high value and low value prices. And for that, any that markets are whether it is integrated or not. That means called as correlation, co-integration. That has been studied. For this I have used a test, that is ADF test. It is a famous test, that is Johansson co-integration test has been used. In this, there are two steps are there. One is augmented Dickey-Fuller test. This one we will be using for reducing the residual stationarity that we will be calculating. This one is in many markets I have taken. So wholesale markets. As like this, we can go for any other kind that is of primary or secondary or any other sites we can use. But this one needs some time series data. So that co-integration, what I have explained is that we will be showing that whether it have a market integration in long run, not in a short run, but in long run. But if it is not having a long run, we can go for a short run relations can be explored from that. So that has been worked out. And from this, we can categorize into the markets as a whether it is short term and market integration is high or low can be derived. So apart from this, there are certain marketing issues because in economics, the basis is mainly cost minimization or yield maximization, even though in each actors from production to consumers, that is the aim. So as a full throughout value chain, we can go into that. And apart from this waste, that losses occurred in the markets are, as Srinivasan sir mentioned, it was very high and it is 25% or in that post-harvest loss. So that can be managed. Actually, in CFT, we have one separate concentration on that. Preparing that based on that waste, we can convert as a feed. That may be one option. So we may be taken to loss of physical and the quality loss many times. So economic loss has also be a part of that. So what we need to do is we should develop a system which should be of inclusive, including all the actors in the value chain, and also their participation is much important, which needs to be sustainable for both producers, consumers, and also to all the actors. So another one more thing which I have missed out is that during preservation, that is then time utility, that preservation time, that cold chain facilities, the preservation, which is lacking in many of the domestic fish markets. That's why there is a lot of post-harvest losses occurring. So that needs to be done, and infrastructures has to be upgraded, and productivity and production related aspects to be handled in a holistic manner, value addition and quality, everything. So if a product is in a right product and in right place and at right time we are selling it, it will definitely get a good price and value for that product. So what is needed is a long-term marketing strategy for a sustainable marketing. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So we will have interaction now. Any questions or any clarifications you can ask?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sir, unmute.
No questions?
Excuse me.
Oh, yes,
Yes, I'm sorry. Mansha from Mauritius. For the DEA, for the data and development analysis, have you got a software to be able to do any projections, or Have you got any specific software for that one, for the DEA?
Actually, the DEA, it is a software called DEAP. It is an open source software. You can get from that net. Internet, you can easily download it. You can download from that net. Open source. DEAP version is 4. That is the latest one.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Manisha, one more thing for understanding, there is a one tutorial will be there. You can just go through that. All the procedures, everything is self-explanatory.
Okay,
You can
great.
run that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Welcome.
So any question is there, participants? So one thing I want to share is there already I put in the chat box the pre-training evaluation form link. So all the participants kindly fill the form, submit. You have to submit that form. So there is a questions is there. You just fill all the questions. So that link is shared in the chat box. So all the participants, registered participants, has to fill it.
Okay, so after every day after the sessions, we should fill the form every day. I think it's a daily. We should fill in the form daily.
No. Just before the program. No? So you have to. That is pre-training evaluation. So before that, once you have to fill it. One time only you have to submit the form. So that after the ending the program. So if any knowledge you gained means that another question is there. That is post. So that that also will link will be sent to you at the end of the program. So only 2 questions.
Okay.
Then another thing is those who are not having good connections. So there is a live also is there. So you can see in your home also after the program also you can see. So live link also shared by your ADO coordinator. So here tomorrow also we can share in the live link in the chat box tomorrow from tomorrow onwards. Chat box. Today's program it is there in ADO coordinator. They may be shared to you. YouTube live is also available for participants, just for information to the participants. Those who are not following.
Yes, sorry to interrupt. So the link for the live posting on YouTube, it will be available as from tomorrow. The link for the YouTube.
Okay. So if there is no any questions, we can wind up the session.
Yes, tomorrow we will be having sessions on quality and certification in fish value chain, production to consumption, technologies for fish value addition, engineering innovation in fish handling and fish processing operations, fish waste management, a viable option for inclusion in fish value chain. Participants are requested to join on time.
Thank you.
Excuse me, could you please tell more about the form?
Yes, sir.
Yes, just I'm wondering, did you send the form to the email? The form that should be filled?
No, we have shared here in chat box, sir.
In the chat box?
If you want, we can share through email also.
I'm not able to see it. You see, there is an attachment. Okay, let me see.
You have to provide the name.
shared just now also I shared again. Same
Is
chat
there a
box.
due date? Hello. Is there a due date for submitting the evaluation form? Should
Yeah,
it be
just if
submitted
that link,
today?
madam, if you click that link, it will go to the form, Google form.
Yeah. I got it. But I asked, what is the due date? Is it should be submitted today itself or
Yeah,
at the end?
today itself you submit. That's better because it has to be before the training. Today itself you submit the form.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Please, you can send the link in WhatsApp because it's difficult to copy this.
We'll,
Please.
already normally send to the ARDO coordinators. Okay, anyway we will convey. It will come to your
WhatsApp and email, please.
Okay.
Yes, email will be great.
Thank you.
That will be take care of tomorrow onwards. Okay. Okay, thank you. We end today's session. We will end the close today's session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.